This entity claims that our entire existence is a lie. According to him, we were created 200,000 years ago, not to inhabit the Earth, but to cleanse it of its original occupants. He defines us as a virus, a disease for this planet. But are we really? Just like Agent Smith said, 18 minutes was all it took for the world, as we know it, to reboot. Planes fell from the sky like broken toys. Entire cities were plunged into total darkness. The culprit? A blackout that no one understood. When they arrived on Earth, they didn't use laser beams. They simply activated a command. A being descended and revealed a terrifying truth. Humanity was not what we believed. We were not the product of evolution, nor the creation of a benevolent God. Everything that humanity held sacred for generations was false. Listen closely, because what this story proposes is more than just an action movie. It is a terrifying hypothesis about our origin. The revelation, when that being spoke, he crushed centuries of science and faith. It turns out that humanity was designed for a single purpose, to be a weapon, a perfect biological virus. Here is the story. A star located 160,000 light years away was dying. Its inhabitants needed a new home, but they traveled below the speed of light. It would take them 200,000 years to reach Earth. The planet was perfect, but they faced three fundamental problems. The first problem was ecosystem control. Their sensors detected a native civilization already progressing on Earth. And by the way, it wasn't humans. It was the ancients, the builders of the monolithic structures and cities that now lie beneath the oceans, yet to be discovered. Their advancement was exponential. The alien AI's calculations were clear. In 200,000 years, this species would have the technology to defend itself. So, the logical decision was made. Preventive sterilization. They needed an agent to clear the terrain, a disease to eliminate the competition, so the planet would be empty upon their arrival. That agent was us. The second problem was the atmosphere. They needed to alter the planet's gases to suit their biology. But how could they do that without being here? They programmed us to do it through massive deforestation and industry. Humans have spent the last 10,000 years heating the planet and changing the atmosphere. We thought it was progress, but in reality, we were just preparing the air conditioning for the new landlords. And here comes the most chilling part, the evidence erasure. The ship that brought our DNA self-destructed at an atomic level to leave no trace. But how could they ensure the human virus wouldn't still be alive when they arrived? The solution was to insert a kill switch into our biology. In real science, this is known as apoptosis, programmed cell death. Our cells have instructions to commit suicide if they are damaged. The series suggests that the entire human species has this same code in its body, and someone just pressed execute. That is why people fell all over the world. Their own neurotoxins eliminated them upon receiving the signal. In the series, this entity reveals the 4 pillars of our genetic programming, stating that they are not instincts, but commands. First, the need to build, the urgency to create infrastructure. It wasn't to live better, but so the cities would be ready for them. Second, the need to terraform, the impulse to modify rivers, mountains, and forests. Third, chronic dissatisfaction, or the loop of consumption. Human beings are never satisfied. We always want more resources, more territory, more power. That infinite need ensures the virus doesn't stop until it consumes everything in reach. That is why we rarely feel complete. It is as if we carry a void inside that only grows larger the more we fill it. And fourth, exponential reproduction, multiplying the agents, us, to cover every corner of the Earth before their arrival. But are we really a virus? Agent Smith said that animals live in a natural equilibrium, and that we do not. But that idea is incorrect. In nature, animals are not controlled by wisdom, but by limits, food, space, and predators. Rabbits don't stop reproducing because they understand the damage, but because they run out of food or are hunted by foxes. If you remove the foxes and give them infinite food, the population would grow until it destroyed its habitat. That isn't balance. It's simply hitting the ecosystem's limit. Humans are different because we don't stop at those limits. When food is scarce, we invent agriculture. When a disease emerges, we develop medicine. When an environment becomes hostile, we make tools and new ways to live. This doesn't make us a virus. It makes us beings capable of using intelligence to overcome barriers that other animals cannot cross. But what about human cruelty? Why are humans so ruthless? Here another question arises. If we can think, why do we cause harm? Imagine a fox in a chicken coop killing 10 chickens, even though it can only eat one. From our human perspective, it seems like an act of unnecessary cruelty. However, science tells us there is no malice, but a programming glitch. The fox operates under a sequential predatory instinct. If it moves, attack. In nature, the prey flees, and the cycle ends. But in the confinement of the coop, the constant movement of the birds restarts the attack instinct over and over again before the feeding instinct can activate. It acts like software with a bug, stuck in a loop. There is no conscious decision, only mechanical biology. Human beings, on the other hand, have the power to break the code. We possess empathy. We can simulate someone else's pain in our own minds. The terrifying part is that, sometimes, we consciously choose to cause it. But that same capacity allows us to rebel against instinct to do the opposite, to care, protect, and cooperate. That gap of freedom proves we are not simple biological machines or automatic viruses executing a script. Between the stimulus and the response, we hold the steering wheel. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the hell of the Nazi concentration camps, discovered a fundamental truth there. He said, between stimulus and response there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. What does this mean? Let's go back to the fox. For the animal, the stimulus, the chicken moving, and the response, attacking, are a direct wire. They are welded together. It happens instantly, without thought. There is no pause. But a human is different. Between what happens to you and what you do, we have that space. A brief moment where the automatic program stops. It is right in that gap where you grab the wheel and decide, do I let instinct take over, or do I choose another path? That small space is the only thing separating us from being machines. Having the steering wheel means we can crash on purpose, but also that we can drive towards something better. We cannot eliminate the possibility of evil. As long as we are free, there will always be those who choose to destroy. It is the price of not being robots. The capacity to be a plague exists, yes, but the capacity to be gardeners exists too. We are not condemned to destroy. We are condemned to choose. All of this proves that we are not an inevitable plague, as Agent Smith claimed. We are a species capable of causing harm, but also of creating life and real balance if we use our capabilities well. In short, we are not a virus or a cancer to the planet. The problem is not our existence, but how we are behaving, like irresponsible teenagers throwing loud parties in their parents' house, Earth, without thinking about the consequences. However, there is a theory even more disturbing than the virus. If Viktor Frankl says we have the power to choose, the movie The Blackout asks a terrifying question. What if that freedom is an illusion? This story suggests that humanity is neither an evolutionary accident nor a miracle, but a manufactured product. It proposes that we are a defense mechanism created by a superior civilization, a species biologically designed to be a weapon. Under this premise, our violence is not an error, it is our function, and our desire to be good or moral is just a software glitch in a machine made to kill. In a hostile universe, ethics become a dangerous luxury. It's like trying to reason with a tiger. Your morality won't stop its fangs. Here, it is not about whether we are good or bad, but whether we can rebel against our own source code. To understand the true horror of discovering that your life is a genetic lie, you have to know the story of Yuri and Oleg. You have to see what a man does when his humanity clashes with his combat programming. The full story, in all its rawness, is waiting for you in this video.